Hello dear viewers, welcome to our discussion today. We are going to talk on our important topic today about youth and politics. When we say youth and politics, what came to your mind? Are we performing our role as youth? What are the decisions we are making as youth? Are they relevant to our society? Are we ready for change? Or is youth there just for a voting machine? This thing we are going to tackle with my group, and I hope we are sharing something. Thank you.
Africa, which is arguably one of the youngest continents in the world on the basis of their population, whereby 60% of the Africa's population is said to be between the age of 18 to 25, and likely 75% of the population could be below the age of 35. And in normal circumstances, this should spell a future full of potential. But each passing year, Africa as a continent's future keeps getting bleak. Most people will blame this on the advent of the Chinese model of development as an impediment of African democracy, which, as of 2010, was very promising, but not anymore. Constitutions are being amended almost on a yearly basis to accommodate regimes that are restrained by constitutional term limits. This was the case in 2017 when the Ugandan parliament amended the presidential age limit to accommodate the sitting president for another term. And also, it was evident in Somalia this year, 2021, when the president's term in office was extended by 2 years by the president and stamped by the parliament. The mentioned instances are a depiction of how bleak the future is for Africa.
Social media has immense influence in the world. Though Africa is not technologically advanced as other continents, the number of individuals in Africa who have access to social media, especially the youth, is large. But look at this. Is social media really being used to champion for what the youth feel they should champion for? Things like human rights and freedoms, equity, respect, or even better provisions of essential services by the government. The only time you'll witness a youth using his or a social media platform to champion for essential things is when they're paid to influence for certain programs. I think this is very common, especially with non-governmental organizations or organizations that are coming up. Recently, one of the East African countries had elections amidst the pandemic, and the social media was the base for these campaigns. It was really disappointing going through people's timelines and witnessing the kind of leadership some youth were influencing and lobbying for. It was disturbing when the future of the continent puts their stomachs ahead of their future and the future of their country. Social media is an amazing platform to influence people and especially the youth to stand against vices done by our government. But each day you get disappointed by the youth when they proudly endorse these inequalities. Very few youths use this platform to champion for betterment of living standards. For example, during the ending of the female genital mutilation, because I come from a community that practices the vices, and it's upon me to use my platform to sensitize and the request.
Each and every government in Africa is championing for self-employment, and it evidences the youth are bought into the ideas. And there's immense energy among youth to create their own employment and create their own businesses and different ventures. It is true that this is the future and the safest option for youth in Africa. But with the self-employment notions, the youth have given up on everything leadership and decision-making in the country, and keeping their leaders accountable because they do not see the need, because it's not the government paying the bills. As youth, we forget it is the decision-making and democratic process that affects the economic environment, our business. Prices of everything in a country like Kenya are hiking up, but there is absolutely nothing anyone can do about it but persevere. Youth need to understand that the only way they can fully benefit from their self-employed businesses and ventures is if the government provides a conducive environment, both economically and political stability being granted. And this means youth
Generally, we always have the idea that the youth of Pacific country can champion for the Pacific right and freedom, or keep the government on toes to provide Pacific social amenities. Move to any part of Africa during and after electionary period, then you realizing the reason African future is bleak. And it's still going to be bleak. Youth are divided by the thing that should be bringing them together. Recently, I was in a country that was having a primary election for the parliamentary election, and it was disappointing seeing youth who clearly know a leadership is not worth the force in this campaign trail, and made effort to ask them why they are campaigning for the one candidate who was less qualified to lead the constituency. And I was surprised with the answers, whereby some were shouting the people of one side had been in power for long, and others were of the idea that they will not leave their own religious background, and others were because the aspirant was from the same clan as them, and where others were of the idea that because the aspirant has money, and that is why the allegiance was with the leaders. I had never been surprised with someone I had spent a classroom like I was. Seeing then, I knew as a religion, and especially that constituency, that it would take a lot for youth to vote in leaders based on their agendas and what they stand for, and hence each other 5 years as youth. We sell our future and the future of our countries, and hence each after 5 years as youth, we sell our future and the future of our countries and continent to the people who care less about their stomach and immediate family.
You've had a chance to talk about youth, to talk to youths about politics, leadership, and elections, then you will never fail to get this kind of statements. Politics is not my thing, or someone will do it attitude, or even if I did take part, it will not change anything attitude. It is indeed true that the incumbent government, the incumbent leaders in the office use state machinery to ensure that they have as much grip power as they can. But the day to change this is to get as much. It is indeed true that the incumbents use state machinery to ensure that they have as much grip on power as they can. But the only way to change this is to get as much of youth participation on board as possible. But how do we get youth on board when they themselves believe they are not political beings, which is totally opposite? Every human being is a political being, but youth have just given up on their democratic roles. I was talking to my friend some day back, and I was asking him how they're doing politically, and he told me they are waiting for their president to die. And that is similar in many countries where there is an oppressive regime. Until we get the youth on board, the Africa Youth Union program needs to do a lot when it comes to this. But the only way we will recover the youth participation is through sensitization on how their role can change their future.
Youth, Africa is our only continent, and the more we continue throwing it to the corrupt, selfish, authoritarian, self-interested leaders, then the more we continue dying the seas trying to reach Europe, whose leaders keep making the right decisions for the betterment of their continent and their countries. Thus, as a continent's youth, we ought to know what is right for the country and our continent's future.